I think that it's impossible to have success without failure. I think that positivity and negativity have to work together. And so in order to really truly experience things, you have to fail. So if you make a bad painting, made a bad painting. Just go buy another canvas. Why get hung up? There's no reason to get hung up. Or experiment with it. If you make a bad one, cut it up. Set it on fire. Do something to it. See what happens. You might have a breakthrough. So it's good to fail. And I fail all the time. So it's normal. I've been making art for 4 to 5 years now. And my main focus is trying to figure out the relationships between who we are as people and the way that we express that. Trying to figure out personal identity. Who are we? So the showcase around us is called the Heron Amongst the Storm. Yeah, I was approached by the gallery in January, late December, with the idea to maybe present a new body of work. And at the time, I didn't really know what I was going to do.
Reno's show is one of a number that we've done over about the past year that are really focusing on providing a platform for younger Caymanian artists or emerging artists to share their voice, to share their artistic voice. Titles are meant to be evocative. They're meant to tell you something about the concept behind an exhibition.
While I was going through my phone looking for ideas of what to do, I came across this picture of a heron during Hurricane Grace, sitting amongst the storm, like it was just sitting on this banana leaf. And there's something about that it was like a resilience, like a power. And I started to think about, in relation to a changing world, a changing society, how are we the herons amongst the storm? The world is always in flux. The bird itself is taking the storm, but the person watching the bird is learning from the bird. So for me, this show was about trying to figure out the language of what it means to be Caymanian, or what it means to be a modern person. Like what is the way that you describe this sort of emotion of feeling isolated, but at the same time feeling at peace? It's a body of work that each painting is interconnected because they're all from reference images that I've sourced from local imagery. And each painting has been deconstructed in a way that you can see the familiar shapes from the original images, because I want people to see something that's familiar to them, but allow them to look at it and see what they want to see. I don't want to tell people what to see. I want the artwork to be the vehicle for them to find their own agency. I think it would be kind of rude for me to tell people what they should see. I think that would defeat the purpose of allowing people to figure out who they are.
There's a huge amount of emotional resonance in Reno's paintings. Color speaks to people very directly. So the use of color and form that Reno is exploring in his paintings has an immediate impact that holds your attention. But I think by contextualizing the work, by providing reference points that help an audience understand, what am I looking at? Is it significant that actually these are not just daubs or contours of paint? There's subject matter that's hidden under these layers of finishing, right? These layers of the painting process. And one of the ways we were able to pull that out a little bit was by also displaying some of the preparatory drawing, and having that also helps, I guess, break down this distinction, this idea of representational art and abstract art being polar opposites.
I use photography a lot as a base medium for my work. I'll go around and take pictures of things that are in society. So old buildings, people functioning day-to-day lives, documentary style photography. And then also a lot of found imagery. I'll draw them in a traditional way, but I'm more interested in the structural relationship. So when I make a drawing, I'm blocking out shapes, trying to figure out what shape goes next to which shape is darker. As each drawing gets made, it looks less and less and less and less like the photo. Humans, we're always looking for things that are familiar, but each person is unique. Each person's environmental factors and experiences and things that they've done, that's what I really enjoy about making my art, is that it started in a place that was localized, and as it was deconstructed, it's left with the essence of it. It's not random, but it's not strategically planned. It has a method, but it still has madness.
And then, of course, the final element that I haven't talked about is the table. This is really something that's integral to the exhibition. It's an installation. It's not an artwork per se, but it's an interactive element that Reno wanted to include in the show. And it's very additive. It's not placed here as a piece of decorative furniture, although it is that. The table and the chairs are all finished with ironwood pegs, which is a native endangered hardwood in Cayman. So there's a lot of craftsmanship, and there's also this connection to Cayman's maritime history, its seafaring past, that's literally built into the surface of this table, right?
And so I wanted to create a space where people could come to research, to write, to draw, to talk, to laugh, to whatever. And I wanted to create an environment where people felt comfortable. The whole idea was to create that sense of community.
And often a space like a National Gallery can feel like a slightly formal, a bit stuffy institutional setting. And I think shows like this have done a lot to change that perception, to convey to people that the National Gallery is a space for everyone.
Cayman Islands of past for me is completely different. I mean, even in my lifetime, Cayman has completely changed. Cayman is not even remotely in any way, shape, or form the same as it was in the 50s. We've lost a bit of our social identity. I'm not saying that we need to necessarily go back to that, but to understand the people who came before us is something that's important. There's a nostalgia that a lot of young Caymanians feel because we grew up on the cusp of the change. I don't think I have the answer, and I don't think I want to have the answer of what should happen to Cayman, but I think that collectively as a group, we need to start talking about it so we can figure out what we want as people, as a country. You know, there was moments where I wasn't sure if this is what I was going to do for the rest of my life. There was moments where I thought that's all I would do. But I think what really got me to the point where I am today is just being open with myself and saying what do I want to share? And am I afraid of sharing it with people? No, so just do it, you know? And so I would start drawing and showing my art anywhere I could, and getting in the networks and talking to people and doing things and just slowly developing my craft. To really be comfortable with yourself takes time, you know? And so to develop as an artist, it takes time. You don't become, you know, Da Vinci overnight. And I think we live in a generation of people that just want to become that overnight. I'm not sure if I'll ever feel comfortable with the art that I make. Even though I started scribbling and I started making like loose sketches and things, just trying to figure it out, I could still compare what I do now just to that, you know, because in 20 years, I don't know what I'll be making. And so for me, I guess the process of being an artist is that evolution.